Hey everybody, how's it going? Check out my husky voice. Yep, it's flu season. Welcome back to Planet Coaster and welcome back to Wilderview Mews. As we hit the halfway point of the series, we're continuing our trend of adding roller coasters that were big in the noughties. So what better way of doing that than with an Intamin Xcellerator? Go on then, you cheeky things. Oh yes, so it's another week and it's another coaster. Move over, Rita, Stealth and Xcellerator, and awkwardly top Thrill Dragster, because we're continuing our trend of fashionable coasters with this Intamin Xcellerator. But according to my notes, depending on where you are in the world, sometimes it's known as an Intamin rocket, and I'm sure you'll fight me on that, so come at me. Now, these coasters rose to fame because of their rapid hydraulic launches, but they have gotten into a little bit of trouble thanks to some pesky cables recently. So of course this park is absolutely going to need to have one, and this is where it's sitting, right on the top of the hill. And I absolutely love how this has turned out. So like, when I'm doing a UK park with a US based audience, they're not compatible. Like, the US audience expect big and fast, but UK coasters tend to be very small, very short, very clever. So I've had to like rein it back in, partly because I feel like absolute dog turd, and I just need to take it easy this week. And partly because I actually wanted to do a shorter coaster, because all of my other coasters in the park are long, and this is what I've ended up with. Intamin rocket, Intamin launched coasters do not tend to be very long anyway. You don't find very, very long ones. And this one is based on a now defunct one in Italy. I'm going to completely mess up the pronunciation. I apologise in advance. It's SENZAFIATO. Absolutely awesome little coaster. Launch coaster. Before you start talking about pacing, by the way, just to let you know, the game is actually slowing down now because we're starting to pad out the park. This is travelling around the circuit at about 30-40 mile an hour, which is about right. It's about the same as SENZAFIATO, so we're all good. So we come out of the station here, and then, of course, we enter into our launch section. I have learnt that I'm going to need to do custom catwalking on this one. I'm not too chuffed about that, but I'll live with it. It's fine. So then we come into the launch here. I think I've set it to 57 mile an hour. It's not a big launch. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be Kingda Ka. It just has to be good. So it comes into this half top hat, which enters into this turnaround, and this is profiled exactly as SENZAFIATO is, but it's the opposite way around. So whereas the Italian counterpart comes down this way, what I've done is I've reversed all of the angles and I've brought it down this way. And then it comes and snakes its way through its twists and turns, and it looks, you know, pretty boring, but it does what it needs to do. It launches you, and it's fun from thereafter. And like I say, before you talk about pacing, the game is slowing the coaster down. It's running perfectly fine. And then I just wanted to have this area here. I was in two minds as to whether I wanted to have it as an ejector airtime hill, or whether I wanted it to have an inversion. And I actually decided to have an inversion. It felt like it was going to be put into the park around about the same time that Rita and Stealth were around. So the technology then would have been sort of 0G rolls, inline twists. We're not talking Maverick kind of technology, which is LSM anyway. But yeah, so I just wanted to have something a bit fun. So I swapped the airtime hill out for 0G roll over the launch, and it works. And then we've just got a usual incline banked brake run going on in here, and then we've got the final turnaround into the final brake run, and then this is the maintenance area and stuff here. I've gone for a slightly different tactic for the maintenance area. I'm not going for transfer track. Well, I am going for transfer track, but not your traditional transfer track. I'm going for the typical Intamin one. I do just need to put all of the mechanisms and stuff in here, but this is essentially how it's going to look. So the queue is spoiler alert. The queue is all in this area for a very specific reason. I do have a bit of scope to extend the queue slightly out if I need to, but it has to be this squashed in because of this monstrosity in the background. Spoilers. So this is the exact position of the coaster, and this is where that coaster coming in the future. It's not next episode, but this is where this coaster coming in the future has always been placed, so I need to work around that. So what I've done here is a smaller little plaza area. Of course, I'm going to tidy it up and whatever, and then you just back onto the queue line area here, and then Photoshop is going to be along here, and then the queue line just winds its way around. It could be longer if I need to. It's all fine. And then the hydraulic building. So Canon that was at Liseberg had its hydraulic building in its station up here. So there is no set place for you to put your hydraulic building. You just have to be able to pull the cable fast enough to launch the train, right? So that's the principle. So Canon has it here. I'm tempted to put it here. I'm tempted to lower the ground and put it in here. But at the moment, I have sat it at the end because that's what I know. That's what I know from Rita. That's what I know from Stealth. So I know that I know that works. I need to look into Canon and is that even how you say it? Canon and so I just need to look into that to see how that's going to work. But yeah, so watch this space on that. Loving how this is sitting on the park skyline. It looks awesome. Like, oh yeah, the color was a no-brainer. It had to be white. It had to be a white coaster with blue supports. I don't know what the theme is yet, but it's going to be white coaster, blue supports, and it kind of fits in quite nicely next to the B&M, right? So it's all just twisty and lovely. So I do need to also, by the way, bring a pathway up around here at some point because it needs to connect up with this point, and then ultimately all of these need to connect to the top here. So I need to find out what's in this area. But before I go to the next bit, I just wanted to show you some other attempts that I did. So I did want it to be like Canon and I ended up having 6 or 7 attempts at this top hat, and they are just gash. So I decided to not bother. This is the awful attempt that I did. I think this one is probably the closest to Canon that I could get, and it's still not right. It didn't even ride right, so I just binned it off. And I went for SENZAFIATO instead. So that's how we're looking. I'll see you in a minute. Hope I don't feel too crappy for too long. I tell you what, you guys, running a fever of 101 and trying to do a Planet Coaster episode at the same time is not where the love is at. I am not having a good time this week. But I've managed to clear my chest just long enough to be able to do this commentary. So can I at least get a like on the video? I might have Rona, and I'm still doing Planet Coaster videos. Let's just run with that for now, shall we? So this is what we've got in terms of the entire area. I have decided I needed to put some extra bits in. I'm not going to do these in this episode. They're not going to get kitted out and stuff, but I've put a pirate ship down the bottom here and a top spin at the top here, and I have also put in the lodge stuff in this area just to get a feel for how this area is going to be. I know what building I want to do actually. I'm going to go back into Grosvenor Gardens and grab the Canadian tea rooms thing I did for the SLC station, because it feels like this would be the perfect fit for that. I just need to retrofit it with windows and stuff to make it look out to the lake and whatever, but I think that style of building would be perfect here. So that's what I'm going to do. If I feel better, I might put it in this episode, but if not, then it will probably be a future episode. But this is what we've got for the whole Intamin coaster area then. So it's got no name at the moment, that's why I'm referring to it as Intamin Coaster. So as you know, I'm not an engineer. I couldn't find any reliable sources as to why you would have your hydraulic building at the front here. I know it's possible, but I couldn't find enough to be able to talk about it, so I've actually ended up playing it safe, and I've ended up putting the hydraulic building at the end of the launch here. So I was able to take quite a few cues actually from elsewhere, so like Speed Monster in Norway, Rita, Stealth, you know, all the usuals. So this feels right. It feels like it should be here. I mean, it's not a powerful launch by any means, and I think that's why you can have the cable run here, but it just feels like you have to pull it from the furthest point rather than from the beginning point. That's what I mean. I just can't find enough information to find out why it works down here. I just know that it does, and for you guys that doesn't always seem to wash. Like just it can exist is not enough for you guys, so I'm going safe. That's what we've got here. So it's a metal building, and I've put it on concrete foundations and stuff, so that's what I've got. I'm not going to do inside, by the way, because I know later on down the line I've got to do clipping and stuff, and this terrain is not level, and that's by design, so I am just going to keep it as a building. If anybody does know, by the way, of the hydraulic stuff on TMTK, please let me know, because I would like to do the inside of one of these. So I've just fenced it off as well from the guest view. I just wanted to like hide it slightly, or as much as possible, because it's not a very sightly building to look at, right? It's not something that you want to spend time actually looking at, but I also didn't want to obscure the view of the launch or of the top hat that you've got going on. So it just feels right that it's a solid fence. I've also just put in this bridge here. So the bridge itself is actually relatively simple. It's just a couple of the concrete pillars that come inside the game. And the slats here, this wood, is actually the wooden fence that's laid down on the ground. So it's this same wooden fence. It's laid down on the ground and coloured grey. And actually it looks pretty cool. Like, this was just a complete accident. I came across this accidentally. And the reason I came across it accidentally was because I was going to put fences inside the workshop here. And I'd aligned it to this wall to make it so I could rotate it, and then this happened, and I was like, oh, this looks like a really good platform, and then I thought, oh, actually this could work for the bridge. So that's exactly what I've done. I like how this bridge has turned out. I just need to tidy it up slightly with the pathing or whatever, but it does what it needs to do. It does what I want it to do, and that's the main thing. And from here you do actually get some pretty decent sights right from from here of all of the track and whatever. So yes, you'll notice there are some custom supports going on, so I've custom supported this bit. So look, yes, and then as it goes around the top hat, yes, love it, love it, love it, love it. I haven't shown you this snake dive, by the way. It's exactly the same as all of the others that you see out in the world, you know, the same as Rita's and whatever. So yeah, that's here. I still can't believe how much the game slows down. It's unreal. So anyway, sorry, custom supporting. See, this is what happens when you have a fever. You just chat rubbish the entire time, and I'm not succinct at the best of times. So custom supporting, just put it in here. This is one support that comes down this way, and then it's supported on multiple levels through there. And then I have also just done some custom supporting over in this bit too. So I have taken some cues from Maverick and put the custom supports in here and taken out the ones that overhang the complete top here. So, queue line. The queue line itself is looking pretty disgusting, and that's exactly as I wanted it to be. So it's going to have some trees and stuff in here just to sort of give some shade and whatever, but it is just 3 cattle pens that could be open or closed depending on how busy the park is. And then the station itself, that's looking fine. So do you remember in the last episode, in the invert episode, I was talking about having a baggage hold because that coaster was too busy. This coaster is quiet enough that you can have your baggage holds here. So it's like an example of the alternative version of baggage handling facilities, like an airport. And then inside the station here, lots of cues being taken from Storm Runner at Hershey Park. I kind of like the interior of that station. I like how it's all that exposed thick beam, and then the lights and stuff that come down from them. So that's kind of what I'm going for here, but I'm keeping this building really, really simple. Remember, this is not so much a theme park as an amusement park, so we don't have dedicated themes, and you're probably going to be quite disappointed that it's not like space themed or rocket themed or whatever. Feels like there's probably a missed opportunity, or race themed missed opportunity, but actually that's the whole idea of the park, is it's just very jank and generic, and just like it rose to fame in the noughties and 90s and noughties, but it doesn't mean to say that it was any good because it rose to fame. So anyway, maintenance area. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that I have moved it. So it was originally connecting around about here, but I've actually moved that back so that it now falls flush with the station itself. And it means that I can put like a lean-to effect to the maintenance shed and area along here, right? So that's kind of what I'm going for. And then inside here, I have just put some clutter and some stuff going on. Of course, it's going to have a ceiling. It's going to have a metal roof and stuff. So that's going to get finished off. But that's kind of what I'm going for in here. Bit of tidying up with the concrete that I need to go along. So what I'm wanting to do with this one is I'm wanting to have quite a lot of exposed concrete foundation. Whereas on all of the other rides, I'm making the effort to actually hide all of the concrete and stuff. This feels like it would actually be exposed because it's technically not viewable from the guest view, right? So this will all have trees and stuff, and this will all be obscured. So it doesn't matter that this is exposed, that this is all exposed concrete. And then in terms of the Rapids ride, so I love how this is interacting with the Rapids ride. So the fact that you just sort of like you're on the Rapids and you've got the final turn of the coaster itself. So I've just fenced this area off just to make sure that it's all safe and that nobody is going to die. And look, this is the this is the view that you're going to get when the train comes to an end. Ta-da! Yes, and I've done something that I don't normally do, by the way. So my brake run here is not level. My brake run is actually still at an incline, and that's so that it can slow down but then carry on into the bend without having to lift off, if you like, into the bend and into the brake run. And then the last thing to show you on here is the fact that I have done some custom catwalking. I did have it both sides, but actually I've decided just to do the one because of this transfer track mechanism, right? So custom catwalking has been done and is now pretty much as I want it to be. You just need to put the clutter and stuff that you tend to find on here. So to give you a little bit of an insight as to what's coming next for this area and why I'm not doing the extra bits, it's because this is pretty much where the station for the Hyper is going to be, and I think I'm going to have a plaza area where the exit is going to come onto, which is going to be this bit here, but I actually think I want the entrance to the queue line to be here. So of course it's going to be a little bit raised up and stuff, and the queue line is going to come back down this way. So what I've done here is I've actually just started the process of putting in this split level. You guys absolutely love it when I do this, and I love doing it because it always looks so good. So you've got the ramp up here, the steps up here, and there'll be another level up here, and it just gives that depth to that area, doesn't it? It just makes it feel like it's actually right, and it feels like it should do. In terms of path lining, I've decided to actually go for a concrete pillar curb effect rather than the rocks. It felt like I was overdoing the rock effect to line off a path, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going in with the concrete pillars and stuff, and then being done with it. Right, so guys, you can probably tell I am flagging really, really badly. Like, I probably should have just not done an episode, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So this is how it's looking from the top. Let's see how much I get done. See you in a minute. Alright then, you guys, I'm going to play the sympathy card a little bit because I need to go and get some rest. I'm going to get the done for now stamp out. As you can see, I have finished everything I wanted to in the coaster area, and I've also done a few little extras on the outside, the stuff that I didn't think I was going to get done. Most of it's not finished, it's all placeholder stuff for now, but I'm hoping that you can kind of see what I'm going for in terms of the area and whatever, and I'll come back and retrofit all of this later on anyway. So, let's actually start with the bit that we're supposed to be doing in this episode, right? Let's start with the coaster. So the actual station itself is now completely done, and I really dig how this has turned out. Like, this whole color scheme has worked out quite nicely. It's quite ice cold, and that's kind of like what I'm going for. Of course, there is no name at the moment. I will be doing the name vote and everything later on down the line, so watch this space. We will have a name for this one, but for now, this is it. This is the plaza area. I wanted this to feel like it was quite enclosed but also quite open at the same time. We've got this split level thing going on, going up to the top spin anyway, so it does feel like this is a bit of a crushed area, but actually there's only going to be two rides that are going to be down this side anyway. It's going to be this coaster and it will be the hyper coaster that's sitting in the background. There won't be anything beyond that, so this doesn't feel like too much of a crush, and even if it was, you could always go up this way and go up that way anyway, so there's a couple of ways that you can get up there. The cattle pen queue then is actually looking pretty sweet now it's all concreted over. I've just wanted to make it just one massive concrete pad. I didn't want to put any kind of effort into this. It felt like the park wouldn't have put the effort into it. It's just there for the sake of it. But what I have done, though, is I have just put some foliage and just some flowers and stuff in here that, to be honest with you, I'm probably going to look back on and go, your feverish state thought that this was good, but this really isn't good. But I just put this foliage in so that you can see that it breaks up the concrete a little bit, and then the trees of course just give it a little bit of dappled shade, and they're consistent with everything else that we've done in the park, so at least it's not hideously different. And then in terms of the path that's going to come past the hyper, I've just sort of finished this off as well and given it a bit of a feel. There's no fencing and there's nothing detail going on in here. I mean, I don't even know if that's going to be the sightline from the path, but that's kind of what we're going for. I mean, that look up there and stuff. So by the way, guys, you do have a choice. I think I know what your answer's going to be. I think it's probably a bit of a biased thing, but you have a choice. For next episode, I can either do the hyper and finish that off, or we can do this area of the hill and it's a family dueling coaster inspired by Legoland Windsor's new coaster. Let me know in the comments below which you want. Do you want the hyper or do you want the dueling coaster? I think I know which you're going to choose, but I'll build whichever you think. Yeah, sorry. So here's the ride photos. I've just decorated this out with all of the stuff that this ride has got. You know, I put some neons in because it's a launch. It felt like it needed some arrows and stuff. So, you know, so a really cheesy theming. And I also wanted this to be a gift shop as well. I wanted this to actually have a second purpose. We don't have a gift shop up in this area at the moment, so it felt like this was kind of needed. And then of course we've got all of the ride photos and stuff living in the back. And then when we come into the station itself, the station I kept as simple as I could, and this isn't because I'm just trying to cut corners because I'm not very well. I actually intended to have this station quite open and quite bland. It felt like the coaster needed to miss an opportunity. Like, they could have themed it to racing, they could have themed it to rockets, they could have themed it to space or any tsunamis or whatever they wanted to. And they missed that opportunity, and I wanted to go for that vibe. Like, they just stuck it in because they stuck it in. Yes, that's what she said. And I think I've managed to achieve that quite nicely. So the decor in here keeps the colour schemes. It's the yellow, the white and the blue. And you've got the fans along here. And you've also got the staff and the push points and everything that you'd expect to find in a launched coaster station. Now, because this actually enters into a brake run before it launches. It doesn't actually launch from the station. You don't need all the usual fencing to protect the staff from the actual launching train. So if you look at Stealth or Rita, for example, the staff have to exit the platform and head behind a fence before the train's allowed to launch. You don't need to do any of that here because the train actually launches and it clears the station beforehand anyway. So you are good to go in that aspect. So over on the through the trees and into the brake run, I love this view. This is just like one of those weird fantasy views that you get of the ride, right? I just think it's just perfect because the station is just perched on the side of a hill, so you've got this sheer drop that comes from the concrete down here, and this is just the maintenance area, and it's just there. It's like boom, maintenance area, job done. And I like how this is turned out, especially now that the trees and stuff are on here. And this is how it's looking then from the other side, right? So as you can see, like I say, it's just the station is just on the side of a hill, and the whole coaster is there in the background from the sightline. This area, by the way, this plaza area, isn't done. I do want to put games and stuff in here. I might even squeeze a whirly rig. Or I was going to say a whirly rig or two, but you only want the one. Some games and some stalls and stuff in here, but it's fine. Anyway, let's carry on. So over on the brake run, I have actually ended up putting in a catwalk along here, an evacuation catwalk. I actually think I've forgotten to do this on a couple of other coasters. I might need to go back and retrofit some of the coasters with this. But otherwise they would have had no exit strategy if they had to evacuate the trains from this brake run. The other alternative would be to actually not have a catwalk here. That would be just as acceptable. It's perfectly acceptable, but it didn't feel right. It needed the catwalk, so I've just extended the catwalk and brought it in. And when I first thought about doing it, I wasn't too sure. I thought it was going to stick out, but actually it feels like it fits, so we are all good to go. And then over in this way, this is the lodge that I wanted. Now this is, as I said, it's the station from Benesi in Grosvenor Gardens. I am not even going to make any claim that I've done anything to it other than pulling out or knocking through the exterior wall and putting in the windows and the doors and stuff onto this patio area. That's pretty much all I do. I want to strip out the inside, of course. The inside's not entirely finished. It's just there, ready to play. But this is exactly as I wanted something to sit lodge-wise on the sightline. I couldn't have chosen a better building when I was looking at it. I was like, actually, this is the perfect framing of a building. This is exactly what I envisioned in this area. And I thought, why build something from scratch when I've got something that's already existing that would fit quite nicely? So just to pay homage to it, I have called it Benesi Burgers. I don't know if you can see it because it's in red and it's really bad colours, but yeah, Benesi Burgers. It makes absolute sense. And inside, it is just, as I said, it needs touching up, it needs work. I'm not doing it this episode because I just don't feel like it. But it is functional. And then in this side, it's the second bit, so it's the balcony and the pictures and stuff that are on the wall. So you'll recognise it that it is pretty much the Benesi station from the inside. But whoops, but this is how it's looking from inside here. And I did think, by the way, I've got a bit of a bottleneck coming along here, right? So it suddenly squeezes the guests down. But actually, if you look at the dark forest at Alton Towers and the entrance area by Rita, this is probably no wider than that, and it works. Like, it's uncomfortable when it's busy at Alton Towers, but it still works. So the area works absolutely fine. So this is how it's then looking when you approach the station. I love this bridge. This bridge is just, it just happened. It was just a happy accident, and actually I really dig how it's turned out, so I'm all right with that. I'm good to go. And then the top spin, I haven't done much to it. I've put its concrete pad down. I need to put the jets in. It needs a name, it needs its safety signage, it needs all of the usual stuff that comes with it. It's Tomorrow Me's problem. For now it just sits all right on the sightline, and it's good to go. So last thing to show you then is just what I've done along here. So I've continued the key wall along so it now connects properly. This isn't the final version. It needs finishing off. This bit, for example, I need to investigate whether this is a little bit too close to people or not. So I don't think it is. I think you've got pretty good clearance here, but I do need to go and check it. But for now, this is good to go. I also wanted this ride to feel like it was, well, it's not even feel like it is. Slightly lower down, so you have like access points that come down this way. I'll throw some pirate theming around to give it a bit of a loose pirate feel to it, and then of course you've just got some steps coming up this way, and then the queue line into this way. So I didn't want to waste too much time on a ride that guests don't like in the park anyway. So the maximum prestige you're ever going to get is like 370 something. It's not worth even having in the park, so it's just there as a token ride, really. So this is end on a high. Well done, Chacho. Let's end on a ride that no one gives a crap about. So this is how it's looking from the top then, guys. Actually, I'm quite chuffed with, feverish me has managed to pull this together. Perhaps I should do some more work like this. But guys, thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode. I really do appreciate it. If you have liked it, leave a like and a comment. Let me know whether you want the Hyper or the dueling coaster in the comments below. We're going to go for a ride in a second, and I'm going to go and die on my ass. Thank you so much, guys. Until we speak again, please look after yourselves. Take care. Bye bye.